Oh, hey, it's David Heatley here from Cycling Inform. While we're waiting for people to log up into this webinar tonight, just give us a note. Just let me know that you can hear and see me okay. Let me know where you're calling in from. That'd be fantastic. And we'll get started very soon. I've got some amazing content to cover off tonight. It's going to be an amazing session, and hopefully you'll come away from it learning a stackload more about how to ride better up hills. So we've already got people loading up into the webinar. That's fantastic. So I'll start sharing my screen. Like I mentioned, we've got stackloads of stuff to get through tonight. So I'm going to dive straight into it and turn my screen on. Fantastic. So just wait for a moment. Now, of course, I usually switch between my screen and also usually switch between my screen and just me talking, and sometimes I forget to switch back to my screen. So just let me know if that happens. Just use the chat. Fantastic. We've got people loading up into the webinar tonight, which is awesome. I haven't used this technology for a little while, so it's great to see that it's all working really well tonight. So anyway, without further ado, hill climbing workshop. So how to improve your hill climbing performance and start dropping more riders on climbs in weeks, not months, without wasting a heap of time, obviously, on inefficient training, and without having to do epically hard training sessions. All right, now, if you're having any issues not being able to hear me, then there should be an emergency button somewhere on your screen. Press that, it'll reset the session, and you should be able to hear me okay. But let me know if you're having any technical issues. All right, so let's get into these slides. So tonight I'm going to be teaching you this by showing you what cycle training is actually quickly getting results right now with my clients. And it's really simple to follow. And what is even more important, that the stuff that we're using that's really simple to follow doesn't involve spending hours and hours of training on the bike or doing a stack load of epically hard training sessions. All right, so now, of course, if you stay to the end, you would have seen that in emails. You get a free copy of one of our most popular indoor training sessions and the training files that go with it. That'll help you improve your hill climbing. It's one of our foundation indoor training sessions. So if you stay to the end, you get a copy of that. And also, I'll be offering you a free special offer on our hill climbing training programs through our online training center with extra bonuses. So if you stay to the end, you'll get a link to both of those that you can get access to. All right, so are you committed to being engaged? It's fantastic. We've already got people that have already started chatting with me, which is fantastic. Melanie, this is being recorded and you will get a replay link. Fantastic. And it's good to see people signing in from all around the world. That's awesome. All right, so a little bit about me. Known as one of the original founding online coaches in the world for cycling. Started riding in the 1980s and started racing in 1981. Have raced and medaled at both state and national level. I've been doing online coaching full-time since 2009. I actually started our business in 2007. And been training partner and advisor for many Australian events and organisations and a few international ones as well. Some of them are listed below on the screen, and have successfully coached thousands of cyclists at local, state, national and world level, and also a stack load of recreational riders. All right, so here's what you'll learn during this workshop: how to identify the 5 common hill climbing training mistakes that you could be making right now and how to fix them. How you can avoid getting dropped on climbs, and finally be the rider dropping other riders on climbs by cutting out a stack load of ineffective training and getting better hill climbing power and speed with less training time. A stack load of toolboxes and tricks that we're using right now to get awesome results from our clients you probably haven't seen elsewhere, that'll have you climbing better in weeks, not months. Some simple off-the-bike strength training that you can do right now to help you develop more power on climbs. Without having to go and waste time traveling to and from a gym or hiring a personal trainer. Okay, so here's the 4 reasons why this is important to you right now. Most currently commercial cycling training programs out there do have gaps in them. You probably realize this because you're here on this webinar, because you may have tried a few of them in the past and haven't gotten the results that you want. All right. That your time is the most valuable asset that you have, and that you're probably not got a stack load of time to train. So it's actually becoming even more important to cut out all the ineffective training that you're doing right now that's actually not helping you to ride better. So we're really compressed for time. So it's just really important the training that you're doing is really making a difference. And you probably notice this, an ever-increasing abundance of information about training out there that's causing a lot of confusion and information overload with everybody. And as a result, instead of helping you out, it's doing the absolute opposite, which is making it even more difficult to trying to figure it out yourself, because there's so much information out there and so much confusion that it's actually becoming really, really difficult to actually go in and find what's actually working and what's not. All right. And another thing that we've noticed in recent times that many training platforms don't consider your actual cycling goals, your seasonal planner, that's your events that you're doing throughout the year. They don't take into account your current level of fitness or address your strengths and weaknesses, or really provide enough flexibility. Like, you know, some of them are just all based on doing stuff on a home trainer. And this means that a lot of that stuff is not specifically targeted for you to help you meet the outcomes that you want, specifically to help you climb hills faster. So so those are the 4 reasons. Is this for you? If you're a cyclist that wants to improve your hill climbing in the shortest amounts of time, then this is definitely for you. If you're currently getting dropped on climbs and want to stop having it happen, then obviously this is for you. If you're training hard and not getting the results that you want, it's for you. If you want to be the one dropping other people on climbs, how many people want to start dropping other people on climbs? Just give us a hands up or a yes, or yep, then this is for you. If you're currently feeling burned out from a stack load of high intensity interval training, this is for you. All right, if you're confused about exactly what you need to do right now to improve your hill climbing, yep. And if you don't have a lot of time to train or want to maximize the results you get, and here's a real quirky one. If you're a bit heavier than the other riders that are dropping you and you want to fix this, then this is for you. And if you plateaued with your training, can't figure out what you need to do to get better, this is for you. And finally, the one that's, you know, if you're worried about or have doubts about having enough fitness to get over the climbs at your up and coming events, then this is certainly for you as well. All right, house rules. Now, I just wanted to be really clear, just so that I'm not wasting any people's time. This is not for people that just want, you know, a one, you know, wave the magic wand solution and that takes no effort whatsoever and it's all sorted out sort of thing. All right, you actually need to be consistently applying what I'm going to teach you tonight to your training to get results. It's definitely not for you if you don't have the time to train or can't commit to training. Now, that's a totally separate issue. I won't be covering that off tonight in this workshop. It's an entirely different problem to address. And we have other workshops to sort out that problem. So if you're one of those cyclists that just don't have enough time to train or can't commit at all to doing any training, then this certainly won't work for you. It's not for any cyclist that gets really bored quickly, can't follow any structured training program, or just want to do their own thing. All right, getting results requires a level of discipline, focus, and a little bit of repetition, and the ability to be able to follow instructions. All right. And it's not for the cyclist that tries to buy performance or gathers information but doesn't actually act on it. All right, so just because you've got a power meter or a super expensive bike wheels or a super expensive bike or a smart trainer or anything else that's technology based, or that you know everything that you need to know about improving your hill climbing, you won't get any better until you actually take action and apply that and actually start training properly. All right, so and look, well, a couple of caveats. Well, most of our clients usually see results within 4 weeks. I can't make any guarantees that this will work for you, as every cyclist has unique experiences, exercises, habits that and will apply this information differently. So if any of these ones are you, then look, I don't want to waste your time. None of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about tonight will work for you if that's the case. Okay, so, but that being said, really what we're looking at, and can everybody see my mouse? Is that actually showing up? Doesn't look like it is. Let's see if I click here, no mouse. Nope, that's not showing up at all. All right, okay, well, that's interesting. Maybe if I click here and I go like this. Nope, that's not working either. All right, okay. So where we're currently at is that at the bottom of the triangle, it's all about consistency and mindset. So we're going to be talking about base strength, technique, and speed. We're going to be talking about those particular areas. But getting your consistency and your mindset sorted out is really for another session, another webinar. We're going to be specifically talking about the training things that you need to do. All right, so that's kind of where we are with this. So I'll make a confession. Yes, look, I've been riding for a while. Obviously, we've been practicing a lot of this stuff and refining it over the years that I've been riding, that I've been obviously about to teach you. And of course, I'm close to my absolute minimum weight for my age. So of course, I'm reasonably good at climbing hills. But that doesn't mean that you can't improve your hill climbing, all right? In fact, if you take on the advice that I'm about to share with you and you consistently apply it to your training, I almost guarantee that you'll get results. And getting performance improvement is not about any of these sort of things, having a power meter, having a smart trainer, having an expensive light bike, having expensive wheels. And whether you're training on Swift or Trainer Road or any of the other training platforms out there, and look, don't get me wrong, all of this stuff's really good training tools, and if used correctly will certainly help you get better performance. But if you aren't getting results that you want, then really it's not about blaming yourself or the equipment or the lack of it. Really what I want you to sort of focus on is the training that you're doing, because the training that you're doing will always resolve the ability to be able to, fine-tune training that you're doing will always solve the problem that you've got with your riding, all right? But of course, this totally relies on the fact that you're actually training. So if you're not actually training at the moment, then that's the first thing that you need to address, All right, so let's get into it. Now, is anybody out there, have you tried applying training tips or training methodology to your riding and then found out that you didn't see much of an improvement? Just give us a yes. Let me know if that's happened to you. Tell me if it sounds familiar to you. All right, and we've got a doubled up. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick story, and it's a big screen, and I'm just going to go through it. So I'm trying to cover this off really quickly because I really want to get into the content tonight. So look, since I started riding, I've obviously had a passion for cycling and coaching. So I thought that it'd be a really super good idea to start up a coaching business because I wanted to leave my corporate job. Now, that was a decision that I made back in 2007. So I got certified as a coach and started our business, Cycling Inform, in 2007. Now, with all my knowledge, which I spent quite a bit of time working through, and of course, our coaching certification, I started working with local masters racing cyclists, and based on the research that I did, it was very clear that the only one thing that was going to work, and that was what everybody else was doing, and that was to hit my clients with a stack load of high intensity interval training. Now, initially we got some great improvements, and then my clients liked the training, but we ran into a whole stack load of issues. They either plateaued or started going backwards after about 10 to 12 weeks, or they burnt out. And they also lacked a whole lot of power required for sustained efforts on climbs, explosive power for jumping across gaps, explosive power for short hills and sprints. And they almost always got dropped on longer races. And because they just didn't have much endurance, and their consistency was all over the place. Now, really at that point, I kind of had two choices, give up and go back to the corporate world, or I could work it out and try and solve this problem, because obviously doing a whole lot of high intensity interval training was part of the picture, but not the complete picture. All right. And I'll talk a little bit about that tonight. So, being the sort of person that kind of commits to things and pretty persistent myself, to cut a long story short, I was able to turn it around after looking back on what I did when I was racing as a junior and a lot of experimentation that I did with my clients. They kind of became my human guinea pigs, and I cracked it, and I cracked out what was going wrong, and I went on to get massive success with our clients at the masters level, to the point where we'd rock up at state and national events and we'd just clean up and win stack loads of gold medals and silver medals and bronze medals. And then there's a little bit of backstory around how I got working with recreational riders. I won't go into that tonight because I really want to get into the content. But when I started applying that same sort of stuff to recreational riders, it was like adding nitro or adding, petrol to a fire. We just got amazing results. All right, so hill climbing issues. How does that all sound so far? Just give us some yeses if you think that it sounds good so far. All right, so here's the first thing: doing the same training every week, expecting different results. So if you're doing exactly the same thing every week and you're not getting the results that you want, then obviously you need to change what you're doing. That's a fundamental truth for everything in life. Doing speed work when you should be building basis strength. I'll cover this off a little bit later on. Riding in fast punch rides on flat roads. Now, the demands for hill climbing is different to riding in fast bunches on flat roads. So even though you're screaming along in fast bunch rides and training really hard in fast bunch rides and maybe doing a lot of speed work on indoor trainers, all that stuff doesn't necessarily translate very well into hill climbing. I'll cover that off a little bit later on. All right, not training with purpose. So a lot of clients, when I see their data before they, when they start working with me, I go through what they've previously been doing, and I kind of have these moments where I think, oh, there's just no structure to what they're doing. They're kind of randomly doing a whole lot of stuff. There's no progressive build, and there's no real sort of purpose on really focusing their training around the outcomes that they want. So I see that was one of the biggest issues. Yep. Fantastic. Not using tools like power or heart rate monitors, zones, and not using tools like cadence, just the fundamental basics, things like vertical meters, IF and TSS, sort of some basic fundamental metrics for measuring performance, and not really understanding or using those properly. There's a fantastic amount of data that we have access and available to us, and you've probably got a stack load of data that you've historically built up that's sitting in in Garmin Connect or the Wahoo equivalent, that is an absolute gold field of information that'll help you achieve the results that you want just by diving into that, doing some good analysis on it, and then working out what's actually deficient in your training. And that's, as a coach, of course, that's what I do with my clients. I just basically look at historical data and figure out what they've been doing wrong for the last whatever, and then just turn it around for them. Anyway, not doing off the bike strength training to improve your power. I'll cover that off later on because it's fundamental cornerstone to what we're going to be talking about tonight. Not developing good pedaling technique. Now that's really important at lower cadences. So we'll cover that off as well. All right, so here's a bit of a chart. Intensity. So one of the biggest issues that I see, and you can't really see my mouse, which is a bit shy. Oh, just wondering whether I can actually get this whiteboard thing going. Can I get a line? That's my pen. And oh, can you see that? Just let me know if you can see that, because I can kind of see that. I think that's working. All right. So what we've got here is a chart. Just wondering if I can erase that. Oh yeah, that's not a great eraser. This is a better eraser. All right. Let me know if you can see me sort of marking my way around this. Let me know if that's actually working. All right, so when we're out riding, yep, oh, cool, all right. So when we're out riding, we've got to manage what's happening on the sort of threshold stuff. So this is our threshold. When we're riding, what we want to do is we want to basically work on improving our overall fundamental strength and base fitness, right? So what happens is when we're riding, and say this is our threshold, yep, fantastic, okay. If this is our threshold here, when we're out riding, what's happening is that we're having to go over threshold to climb up hills faster than we would normally ride up them. We kind of go into the red zone. We're riding a fast bunch rides, and this, it starts getting a bit surgy out there, or we're on a training session and we're doing a high intensity interval, and we kind of go over threshold. So what we want to do is we actually want to fundamentally improve our threshold. So that what that happens, if we're able to shift that up to a higher level, then obviously these peaks, instead of being like this big, they're a lot smaller. All right, so there's only a little bit of a toll on our body, as opposed to a whole lot of toll on our body. So that's some of the stuff we'll be talking about tonight is all about that. All right, so let me know if that makes kind of sense. I don't know whether I explained that very well. I just wondering I can clear that. Yep. Oh, fantastic. That's pretty cool. All right. So we'll go on to the next. Okay. So let's talk about how we do that. I'm going to talk a little bit about muscle fibers first. Type 1 muscle fiber. This is a slow SO fiber, contracts relatively slowly, uses aerobic respiration, so oxygen and glucose, to produce ATP, and then produces low power contractions over long periods of time, and slow to fatigue. So when you're riding along really easily, having a conversation with your person, with the person beside you, you're not breathing hard or breathless. This is the type of muscle fiber that you're using. The next muscle fiber, type 2A, is a fast oxidative muscle, and they do fast contractions and primarily used aerobic respiration, but they can also switch into anaerobic. They can fatigue a little bit more quickly than the type 1 fibers, but this is the fiber that really helps us ride up hills really fast. Okay, so what we want to do is focus on developing this muscle fiber. All right, then we've got a type 2B. This is basically a muscle fiber. You know, both type 2A and type 2B are fast twitch muscle fibers. But the distinction between these two is that type 2B basically only lasts about 30 seconds. It does everything anaerobically, great for sprinting, but not good for anything else. So, so what we want to do is we want to work on this muscle fiber to improve our hill climbing. All right, so we want to make this really good. All right. And that will fundamentally make us a lot better as cyclists. All right, so just going to clear that. Okay. All right, look some slides here. Okay, so so what we find is that we also want to work on fatigue. All right. So the issue that we've got is that a lot of people focus on FTP. I'm just going to see if I can get my pen out and see whether I can draw. Let's see if I can get this happening. FTP. All right. So a lot of people focus on improving their FTP. And don't get me wrong, FTP is a great metrics, okay, with your training. But the problem with that is that, you know, if we're, you know, FTP is 60 minutes. It's your average, MS, it's your average power. Yep, fantastic. It's your average power for 60 minutes, okay? So that's great for 60 minutes, and it's great for setting up our power zones and that sort of thing. And we, you know, we want to know what our FTP is. And don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic metrics. But if you're riding a recreational event out at, you know, 3 hours, all right, then we want to make sure that you're, you know, we want to focus on what's happening out here. And we also want to make sure that when you're climbing, you know, if you're climbing hills 3 hours out, that you've actually got, you know, if you're doing hills 3 hours out, that you've actually still got the power available to you to continue to get good power, you know, a long way out into your ride. So does that make sense? The fact that, you know, obviously we want to, you know, we still want to make sure our FTP is okay, but we also want to make sure that we're still producing good power out sort of 3 hours, so we're able to still climb really well. So has anybody sort of experienced that? They sort of gotten 2 hours or, you know, whatever into the ride, and they find that their performance drops off. Has anybody experienced that? You know, rather than sort of keeping it strong? Or is anybody wanting to, you know, be able to ride sort of 3, 4, 5 hours and continue to ride really strong like they ride for 1 hour? Just give us some yeses if you want to know, you know, if you want that to happen. All right, so I'll just clear my screen here and let's go on to the next slide. Let me know whether this is making any sense. All right, so here's an example of peak, you know, just a power curve, standard power curve. All right, and here's sort of 20 minutes, 315 watts out here. So I'll just get my little pin here. All right, so there's our power at 20 minutes. I mean, you know, we can see that obviously, you know, here's 2 minutes here. You know, here's 20 minutes. All right, and we want to basically look at, you know, what's happening out here as well. You know, how well is our fatigue resilience happening out here on our power chart? You know, we want to basically improve that so we're able to continue to produce good power, you know, out in this period here. Yep, fantastic. After 3 hours, it drops off, says Christopher. Yeah, totally agree. All right, so here's 6 keys to being awesome at hill climbing. All right. Must have good power to weight ratio. So that's kind of a bit of a given. I'll talk a little bit about that later on. Must be good aerobic fitness. Now, hill climbing basically, unless you're surging, needs and requires good aerobic fitness. It's fundamental to your ability to be able to climb hills, all right? You must be able to develop power at lower cadences. This is also fundamental. And I'm going to bring up my paint. All right, so if we look at a chart here, I'm just going to clear my screen because my writing's all over that. All right, so if we bring up a chart here, all right, and we have our cadence, so we've got 100 RPM out here, and we've got, say, 20 RPM here. You know, we want to make sure that our power curve is not like this. We want to make sure that it's broad, that we're developing good power across the range. Okay, so this is power. We want to make sure that we're getting good power up here and we're getting good power down here, and we're getting good power down here, rather than, you know, when our cadence drops below, say, you know, say 70, you know, that our power drops off. When, you know, this is really important for things like when we approach gradients, you know, when we get onto steep gradients, say we get on to 20% or 18% or 16%, gradients, the ability to be able to produce power at super low cadences, down at 40 RPM, becomes really important to being able to get up these steeper gradients. Does that make sense? Give us a yes if it does. All right, so I'm just going to clear that and go back to my slides. All right, we must be able to do this all efficiently. So technique's really important to being able to develop that. And I'm going to cover that off a little bit later on. We must be able to do training that focuses on building base strength and speed. All right, those are the three components that we break things down into. Yep. Fantastic. All right, and we must do training that helps us to reduce our fatigue. So as we get later on in the ride, we're still able to produce good power. All right. Okay. So and obviously training must be progressive. All right. So let's talk about. I'll go back to the progressive stuff because I'll just open up my paint again. All right. So progressive training is where we actually, and I think I cover this off in one of the other slides. So we want to make sure that, we're doing 4-week blocks of training. And this is classic, like there's nothing rocket science about this. It's just that most people don't follow it. Or, or those people that are not riding very well, you get this one thing sorted. So what we want to do is we want to build and then we want to recover. Now, this build produces the adaptation, that actually produces the stimulus, but it's here the adaptation actually happens in the recovery. All right. So just it's like you need to basically build, recover to get stronger. All right. And the problem with a lot of people is that their training is just like this. Just doing the same thing all the time, and there's no progressive build. All right. And so as a consequence, here nothing's happening. Here we get a good build. All right. So I'll just clear that, go back to my slides, make sure everything's going okay. All right, so power to weight ratio. So here's the thing, 3 to 5 watts for every kilogram of excess weight. So if you are a 70K rider so we can do a comparison between a 70K rider and a 90K rider. Basically, that is around between 60 to 100 extra watts that you need to produce. If you're a 90K rider riding next to a 70K rider, that's an extra 60 to 100 watts that you need to be able to produce to stay with them. All right. So power to weight ratio is good. Now, I'm not saying that, if you're a heavier rider, you're not going to be any good at climbing hills. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that obviously if you're able to lose a little bit of that excess weight, it's much better than spending, $4,500 on a new set of wheels, right? But you just need to lose like 4 or 5 kilograms and you've got a massive improvement with your hill climbing performance. All right, so I just want to bring up this chart to give you an idea of what this is like. So if we've got and I won't cover this off because there's a lot of numbers in this, but basically all it's saying is that if we get a rider that's weighing 70 kilograms and they ride a 7 kilogram bike, all right, okay, so we've got that. And then we get and then I spend $2,000 on a set of aero wheels. Well, it's actually now about $4,500 for an amazing pair of aero wheels. On a hill climb, they are going to be able to get an improvement of about 8 seconds over, we're talking about a climb of about 24 minutes. All right. So now if they get a lighter bike and new set of wheels, then they can improve their time on that 20-odd minute climb by about 15 seconds. Now, if they combine those, sorry, that's with the lighter bike, this is with the wheels. If they combine that two together, they get 23-second improvement. Okay, so they've just spent stack loads of money and got 23 seconds of improvement. Now, if they lose 2.7 kilograms of weight, right, they've basically achieve the same thing as going out and spending that amount of money on their bikes and wheels. All right. So they just need to lose 2.7 kilograms and they'll get the same sort of result as spending, $12,000 on a bike. And because these numbers are a little old now, $12,000 a bike and $4,500 on new set of wheels. Now, of course, if they improve their 20-minute threshold power from 230 watts to 270 watts, and they're still riding on their old bike, then they can save a massive 3 minutes. All right. So they haven't lost the weight. They've just improved their overall power. All right. Now with that, they can actually beat their rival. So their rival here is basically, up here. I don't know whether you can see that. but I can't see it actually, but hopefully you can see it. Yep. All right. So, and then obviously if we combine, a little bit of weight loss and we improve their power, then we can get some massive improvements with their time as well. Does that make sense? I didn't want to kind of bore you with the numbers. I mean, they are really boring, but that's just really important. So just clear your screen. All right. So, so let's get into the nitty gritty on some of the stuff you can actually do. All right, so okay, so high cadences in E1 or power zones build aerobic base and improve technique. So if you ride funnily enough, you ride at higher cadences in recovery, like in an easy gear, it builds aerobic base and it also helps improve your technique. Now that'll help with all aspects of your riding, but primarily users to have the endurance to get you to the end of the ride. So, so this helps prevent injury later on. And this sort of training is done where you're able to hold a conversation with somebody else. Now, the thing about aerobic base training is that it's developed slowly and lost slowly, and this is one of the key fundamentals. All right, so this is really important. Like we can actually do aerobic base training at high RPM for long periods of time, and it'll actually help improve our hill climbing. All right. I know it sounds counterproductive, but there's a specific zone that you need to be riding in, recovery zone, at specific cadences. All right, up closer to 100 RPM, and it will help your hill climbing. All right. Now the next one is building strength. Okay, now strength is really important for hill climbing. So on the other side of this, we use this for managing bunch surges, time trials, bridging gaps, jumping across the break, sprinting, and long and short climbs. We need to build strength. All right. So I'm just going to share my screen for a moment. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this one. So the first thing that we need to do, if we're on a climb, all right, the first thing, if, we need to, and we're riding with, with our mates. Now I'm just going to draw stick people here. All right. And our mates riding and they're, you weigh exactly the same weight and they're doing 270 watts. For you to keep up with this rider, you need to be able to, and you weigh exactly the same and your bike weighs the same, you need to be able to produce 270 watts. Now, if you're only doing 240 watts, then obviously you're not going to be able to keep up with them. So the first thing that we need to do is train you to produce 240 watts, all right? That's like, number one, all right? The next thing we need to do is make sure that you can do 270 watts. We need to train you to do 270 watts. Next thing we need to do is get you to train to produce 270 watts for this entire length of the climb, all right? So it's a kind of a two-step process. Yep. All right. So we need to be able to do both. We need to be able to basically get you starting riding at that power level. Okay, that's number one. And two, we need to basically improve your ability to resist fatigue. All right. Okay. So, all right. So we do that building strength. Now, strength comes from that. Remember, I talked about that enduring fiber that had, fast twitch fiber that had ability to be able to produce good power, okay, and it didn't fatigue as much as obviously it was, than 30 seconds. It burned energy aerobically and anaerobically. That's the muscle fiber that we need to target. And to do that, we would need to train in a specific zone, E3 zone, at lower cadences. And that builds your ability to be able to increase your power and also helps your ability, once you've got that power level achieved, then you're able to, work on consistently dragging that out so that you can keep it up for the period of time for the particular climb that you want to beat your cycling buddies on. So now off the bike strength training helps improve doing this. So I'll just clear that. Did I put my little screen up there? Oh, I was drawing over my slide. All right, so here's the thing. Do I talk about technique? I think I talk about technique in the slide. So to develop off the bike, develop strength on the bike, we need to develop the strength off the bike. We've got an off the bike strength training program that helps you do that. I'll talk about that in the technique stuff, all right? Now, the thing about building strength is that it's developed slowly and lost slowly as well. Thanks. Yep. All right. And we obviously need to do this developing power at lower cadences, all right? And that should be reversed, absolutely reversed to any training for the track. So for track training, we want to develop high cadence work and developing power at high cadences. But for climbing on hills, we want to develop power at lower cadences, and technique is super important. So I'm going to talk about technique now, and this is really important. So I'm going to open up my little paint thing, and I'm going to talk about this. So when we talk about technique, this is our pedal stroke, all right? And what we've got going on here is a lot of people are able to develop power through this part of the stroke. Down, down, good power there. If we're able to produce power over the top of the stroke and through the bottom of the stroke, okay, so most people are able to produce power here, but not terribly great at producing power here and producing power here, all right? What do you think would happen if we were able to add developing power here and power here to your pedaling stroke, to each pedaling stroke? Do you think you'd get slower or faster? All right, if we're able to add, plus here and plus here, all right? Let me know in the chat. I mean, the answer is a rhetorical question, really. The answer is that obviously we'll be able to produce way more power more efficiently, all right? So this is what we're talking about in developing a technique, and there's two ways that we do that. Basically, we need to first train our clients, and this is what I've found, that, really early on when I was working with my clients, their core strength was pretty ordinary, and they didn't actually have the core strength to be able to lock their core to actually stabilize the power much faster, thank you, able to stabilize the power across the top of the stroke and through the bottom of the stroke. They didn't actually literally have the core strength. So I basically had to look and find how we were able to get core strength, a core strength training program to enable them to, off the bike, that they could do to develop the core strength first, all right, before they could even work on this technique, because they just didn't have the core strength to be able to stabilize this part of the stroke and that part of the stroke. And the next thing I had to do is then start working on drills, specific workouts, targeted workouts that target the ability to be able to produce power down through here and through here on the trainer and out on the road, to help them basically translate this core strength that we developed here off the bike into developing power here and here. Does that make sense? Yep. All right, and Matthew's asked the question, is it correct that you shouldn't pull up on the pedal? Yeah, this part of the stroke is basically a rest. In fact, you want to make sure that that part of the stroke there is a rest. If you have a little bit of downward force here happening on that rest stroke, then it's actually minusing away from the power that you're producing on the downward part of the stroke. So this part of the stroke is actually, and it's also part of the technique that we teach, is that it's really important that you relax this part of the stroke. Now, I'm going to clear this. Standing's a little bit different. Okay, so that's seated, but standing, if you're standing, you can develop power through here. You can develop power across here. You can develop power through here, and you can develop power up here. All right, standing's different. All right, hope that answers your question. Cool. All right, so I'll clear that and I will go back to my slides. All right, so working on technique. So what we want to do, what we do is combine efficiency with off the bike. Apologies for the spelling mistake there. With on the bike. So we do off the bike strength training and then we do on the bike strength training on specific workouts to combine those two together. Now, it's probably not your fault that you haven't been taught how to efficiently pedal the bike, using a proper technique. You've probably never been professionally taught how to do that. So it's not your fault that you don't understand this if you have never done this before. Now, the thing is that, what I found is that most pros, including I was never a pro at, international level, but most pros and anybody that's running through, even local club level racing cyclists as juniors, we're all on limited gears, and we developed really good pedaling technique at higher cadences. And then if we're able to transition that as we went through the juniors and into the seniors, if we're able to transition to that, we're able to produce really good power using that efficient pedal technique by developing a little bit more strength with it. All right, so and obviously, I've developed a system to help sort that out. So, okay, so we want to build speed last, elliptical chain rings, and that's a really good question. So elliptical chain rings, basically, it's interesting. Look, I'm going to take that one offline because I could actually talk for a whole 20 minutes about elliptical chain rings, and it's going to detract what we're covering off today. So I won't cover that one off, but if you want to, Martin, if you want to send me an email, I can tell you all about elliptical chain rings. All right, so just flick me an email and we'll cover that off offline. All right, so speed, what we want to do is build speed last. All right, and the reason why that is, I'll just share my screen again. All right, so a lot of people, like I mentioned, we want to build speed last. If you've got an event out at 3 hours, okay, and you're doing interval training, for less than 60 minutes, all right, you can be really fast here, super fast, right? But the problem is that you've got nothing out here. So when we're training people for events, the first thing we want to do is make sure that they're able to get to the event and be, comfortable and happy. We don't want to get them halfway through the event and find that they just don't have the endurance to get to the event, that they fade, all right? So we want to make sure that they get to the event and they've got the endurance first. We want to build endurance first. That's really important, all right? And then once we've got them, built endurance and they're able to actually complete the event in a timely manner and comfortably, then we want to work on speed. No sense in working on speed if they don't have the endurance for the event. Does that make sense? Let me know if it does in the chat. All right. I hope this is all making sense. All right, I'm going to clear that screen again. All right, back to it. So now don't get me wrong, speed's really important, and speed is a combination of the base and strength work that you've done. So it helps that you've got a really good foundation underneath you to build speed. And when I drew the chart earlier, I'll just bring this chart up before. Remember I drew this chart earlier, this one here. Oh. All right, this one here. Oh, I'm having problems with my mouse. Maybe if I slow down. What we do with base and strength, what we're doing is we're effectively doing this. We're building FTP. We're building our overall ability. We're actually moving our threshold. Sorry, not FTP, threshold. So the thing that actually does this is base and strength training. All right, speed work enables us to cope with this and recover from it really quickly. All right, that's what speed work does. It only helps you here, but it doesn't help you here, actually building your ability to be able to improve your overall threshold power. All right, so so that's what we found. All right, so now this is obviously, speed work's done at E3, VO2 max, and NEU power zones. It's needed for the final improvements. And the thing about this is that speed work's built quickly and lost quickly. And this is one of the biggest issues that we got when remember I talked to you about that story about, when we threw a whole lot of high intensity interval training at our clients, they quickly got results, but then they started plateauing and going backwards, and their training was, their consistency was all over the place. Well, that was because we weren't focusing on our base and our strength work. All right, so that was really the big secret that we found. Yep. Oh, please clear the screen. Thank you. Cool. All right. So we need to build speed last. All right. And that's really important. And we want to build a really good foundation. All right. So, all right. So like I mentioned, improvement comes from training through a training plan that provides progressive overload training and recovery. And I covered that off earlier on a slide. So I'll just share my screen again. And basically, when I talked about that loading up, here we go. We load up our training, recover, load up our training, recover, load up our training, recover. All right, so it's important that we do the recovery. This is the stimulus. This is where the adaptation happens. All right. One of the biggest mistakes that we did was we did this with our clients. We kind of loaded them up and we didn't give them any recovery. And of course, they got pretty unhappy. It wasn't a very good result. When we do this, we basically get really good results with our clients. All right. So it's really, really important that we allow the body to recover, because it means that our clients can come back after doing a good bit of body of training, and then come back, recover from it. And then they can build on that and then recover, build on that, rather than being smashed over and fatigued and basically unhappy if we just keep on that load up. All right. All right, so I'm going to clear that again. Oh, I think I'm getting used to this. Okay, so let me know whether that makes any sense. I've just got a bit of a, all right, let me know. This is kind of a bit of a performance management chart, and we can see, we can see progressive load and recovery going on here in this sort of section here. We can see training just sort of plateauing, not going anywhere, detraining here, and then we can see a little bit of a build, and we can see, like, we want to get staggered building going on there. Does that sort of make sense? All right, so these are the 3 phases. You just keep it really simple. And look, it's really important to understand that things don't need to be complicated to be effective. And look, I don't want to make other coaches wrong. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm just saying that there are some people get kind of too bogged down in the detail, and they try and make things more complicated than they need to be. And I think a lot of people, you just want something simple that works at the end of the day. So we've just basically distilled our training down into 3 effective phases: base, strength, and speed. That's pretty much it. And look, there's a lot of science behind what we're doing, and there's a lot of work that we've done in the background of this. But when we present it to our clients, we basically talk just purely about base, strength, and speed, because we just want to keep it easy and simple to understand for our clients. Now, of course, it's obviously, there's a little bit of rocket science going on in the background, but we just, our clients don't need to know all of that stuff. And look, if you want to know that stuff, that's fine. I'm happy to talk to you about it. But the thing is that, we just want to keep things reasonably simple. So we focus on base, strength, and speed. All right. Now, another thing that's really important is, and this is, all right, Melanie, I will give you examples of good off-the-bike strength training. And Dietrich, I probably pronounced that totally wrong. Apologies there. More strength equals more power. What's the best way to increase your FTP with a power meter? All right, we'll get to that later on. All right. So more training. Training and outcomes. So the number one things that should be thing that I see going wrong with people's training is they aren't doing what they should be doing. All right, they're focusing really on the wrong things, or they're doing training that's keeping them busy and making them tired, but not focusing on what they should be achieving. So what I'm trying to say here is that your training needs to equal your outcome. All right. So if you want to do hilly events, then you need to be riding. In your training, you need to be doing hilly stuff. All right. If you're doing flat events, you need to be doing flat training. Right. That kind of makes sense. And generally, as soon as we sort that problem out, as soon as we match the training that they're doing to the outcome that they want, it's amazing what sort of results we get. So like I say at the beginning of this presentation, if you're not getting the results that you want with your hill climbing, it's directly related to the training that you're doing. All right. So the training that you're doing is not actually helping you improve your hill climbing. So if we fix the training, it'll fix your hill climbing. It's that simple, really. All right. Now, this becomes really critically important because we're pretty time poor. We don't want to waste a whole lot of time trying to figure this out for ourselves. We don't want to do a whole lot of experimentation. We just want to do something that works, right? I mean, that's a lot better. Like this, and look, don't get me wrong, there's some people that want to experiment, and that's cool. And, I'm one of those people. I like to try new things and experiment and see whether I can do it better. And that's cool. And, if you're that sort of person, then that's fantastic. But, one of the best things you can do is basically find somebody that knows how to do this stuff and then just follow what they're doing and get the results that you want. You cut out all that wasted time around trying to figure it out for yourself. And of course, we don't have a lot of time to figure this out, and we want to get results really quickly. So it's much better just to focus on the training that you need to do to get the results that you want. All right. So it's becoming, more and more important these days. So let's talk about short climbs. Short climbs involve the ability to, have explosive. Did anybody notice that? It's like, you're on a short climb and it's like the sprint is kind of like right away from you. Does that happen to you? Just give us a yes. Short climbs, or you struggle with short climbs. You kind of need this explosive, epic amount of power for a very short period of time to get over a short climb. And that's the same for you maybe on a longer climb where it's got a steeper gradient in it. So you're kind of like riding at 6 or 3 or 6%, and then it goes up to 12 or 18%. And it's like, it's steep, and you need to produce a lot of power for that. All right. So usually when you're doing on short climbs, you can develop more power standing on shorter climbs. So we usually stand up on the bike when we want to do that. All right. Now, short climbs obviously involve lower cadences. Sometimes your cadence may drop down to really low cadences when you're on really steep gradients. So you need to be able to produce good power at lower cadences. All right. And of course, to be able to ride short climbs, you need to develop really good strength, pretty good endurance, and be really super efficient. All right. Yep. Under 5 minutes. Fantastic. Craig likes short climbs. Excellent. All right. Okay. And this is the sort of training you want to do. If you're on an indoor trainer, you want to do training drills that are specifically targeted at lower cadences for short periods of time and produce high levels of power. All right, and obviously combine that with off the bike strength training. You need to combine both of them. All right, longer climbs. So how many people sort of struggle with longer climbs? They're kind of good for the first part of the climb. They're able to keep up with their mates, and then they get dropped as the climb extends. So they're able to produce the sort of power that they require, but then as they get into the climb, they sort of start fading. All right, so let me know if that sort of happens for you. All right, longer climbs. All right, so what we want to do is we want to improve our endurance. And we usually do longer climbs seated, all right? And we do it at lower cadences as well, all right? And we need to develop endurance and efficiency. So again, we need to be able to do that. And the sort of training that we want to do is we obviously can do indoor training drills or out on the road and off-bike strength training, all right? So look, we're coming up to about 20 minutes, so we've just about gotten to the end of a lot of this. So why did you show up tonight? You wanted to find out how to fix your hill climbing. We discussed some of the issues and some of the tools that we use to resolve them. We talked about strength training. We talked about power to weight ratio. We talked about the 3 phases. We talked about technique, all right, and how it's really important to improve your technique, all right. And I hope that you've got some great ideas, and it's probably answered, probably created more questions than it did solved answers, okay? But hopefully it's given you some sort of insight into what you need to do to improve your hill climbing. So, yeah, definitely struggle on long climbs. So the obviously question is that, what do you need to do to get started and take action to improve your hill climbing? And really, we've got a couple of options. You can obviously take some of this information away that I've taught you tonight and try and work it out yourself, and that's cool. Or we can work it together, and we can do this in quite a unique way. So, look, I really want to show you a stack load more tonight about this. But, there's a stack load of off-the-bike strength training exercises that I can teach you. There's a stack load of pedaling drills that I can show you as well. And there's a stack load of workouts that I can show you. And there's also a stack load of training programs that, we've put together that actually work, all right? And when you combine all these things together, you're basically almost guaranteed that your hill climbing will improve if you follow along with them. So at the beginning of the webinar, I mentioned that we're going to make a bit of a free offer for you to get access to a whole lot of really cool stuff. So this is why I've created the online training center. And rather than go on and rabbit on about, well, here's the strength training that you need to do, and here's the indoor training videos that you need to watch, and this is a technique that you need to master, and cover that all off tonight, all I'm going to do is basically, I want to give you access to our large library of training programs, including our hill climbing training programs, our event programs. I want to give you access to our off-the-bike strength training stuff. So Melanie, you mentioned, can you show me examples of off-the-bike strength training? Well, rather than me just showing you a quick snippet, you're going to get access to this tonight, all right? You'll get access to our hill climbing specific workouts, all right? And you'll get invites to our private members Q&A and mini workshop sessions that we run throughout the year. You'll get unlimited email access to me as your coach, so you can ask questions, get feedback on your training, and get training advice. All right, and you can be part of our amazing cycling community where you can ask questions, find others to ride with, and get inspiration. So how does that sound? Do you want to get access to all of that tonight? Give us a yes. All right. All right, so why is this a little bit different? Okay, and I'm just going to bring up I'll pull my pad up. So what we do is our training methodology is basically built around this. So we've got, something's happened here. I'll just close that. All right. So what we do is we work through bases of blocks. The first base, we work on base, we work on strength, and then we work on speed. And we found that this works really well. All right. As we're working on this, we're building. All right. So we also provide, as part of our online training center, goal setting, planning, and nutritional advice. We also, provide hill climbing and other indoor training videos to train to. We've got our off-the-bike strength training to work on your technique, and we've got all the sessions and services and everything to help you. And obviously, you get unlimited email support, right? You get group support and community encouragement. So we've built this all out in our online training center. It's basically, I started building this in 2007, and it's matured over the years, and it's an amazing place where our clients hang out and get awesome results. Yep. All right. So you're going to get access to this tonight. And I'm just going to clear this. All right. Here we go. Okay. So here's my promise. If you sign up tonight, I'll do my very best to make sure that you start seeing measurable improvements with your hill climbing in less than 4 weeks. All right. And here's what you'll get access to. Obviously, our time-efficient training programs, our off-the-bike strength training video series, pedaling technique videos, like I've mentioned, the hill climber workouts, the regular line Zoom calls, personal email support, our active online community. All right. So what's the cost? Now, normally, all right, normally it's $49 a month. Okay. Can you still hear me? Let me know if you can. All right. And compared with obviously the investment you already made in your bike and the time that you've invested in your training, it's pretty cheap. And considering that, you know, it's way cheaper than spending $4,500 on new set of wheels, it's pretty good value. All right. So here's the offer that I'm making tonight. You can get access to, if you sign up, you get access to all of this for the first 30 days for free. So you can just try it out at no risk to you to see if it's for you. All right. How does that sound? All right. Sound pretty good? Plus, you get 4 free ebook bonuses: the fundamentals of developing cycling fitness, introduction to home training for cyclists, introduction to base training for cyclists, and the introduction to home heart rate and power training. All right. So here's the link. I'll just turn it on to get signed up. Let me. Okay. So you should see that link and a little button saying, yes, I want this. Let me know if you can see that. I think I need to apply it. Just a sec. Publish. All right. So you should see that. Fantastic. All right. Great. Okay. So all you need to do is click on that link, sign up, and you'll get instant access to all of this stuff for 30 days for free. All right. So, yep, Aussie dollars. Yeah, well, it's free, Christopher. You don't have to pay anything. Yeah, but $49 after the first 30 days. All right. All right. Matthew's asked the question, how would you be able to determine where I am from a bike fitness level? Matthew, just email me. I can have a look at your data and let you know exactly what you need to do. All right. Fantastic. All right. So the catch, obviously, this is a limited offer. So somewhere on this page, when you click on it, you'll see a countdown timer. We want to create, you know, it's an amazing offer. We want to create a little bit of scarcity around it because it's a fantastic offer. So obviously, when the timer hits 0, it's expired and you won't be able to get access to this offer. Now, okay, so you get access to all of the stuff. You got the link. Okay, so why am I doing this? All right, you may be asking, this is a crazy thing. Well, you know, the first thing is that, you know, because I can, you know, and I want to, and I really want to see more cyclists out there enjoying their cycling and not seeing hill climbs as some daunting thing that they need to avoid. All right. And I can put the link in the comments. Let me do that now. If you can't see that. All right. Let me open that up. Dashboard. All right. And pages. Look, I'm excited for you because I think you're going to get a lot out of this stuff. All right. Here we go. Oh. Okay. All right. So here's the link to everybody. Okay. Cool. All right. So basically, you know, I'm a coach. There is nothing better than the enjoyment that I get from seeing you get really good results without obviously the struggle. And, you know, so I want to give you massive goodwill up front for free at no risk for you to just basically try this stuff all out for yourself. All right. And secondly, obviously, you know, I think that once you've tried it out, you know, you're going to really like it. And there's a good chance that you become a regular subscriber, like a lot of other clients. So that's why you're getting this stuff for such an amazing good deal. All right. Will it work for you? It'll work for all cyclist disciplines: road, mountain bike, CX, except track. We don't train track riders because there's no hills. All right. It'll work for recreational racing cyclists. It'll work for men and women. It'll work for young and old. It'll work for new riders or seasoned riders. We get some fantastic results of new riders, awesome results, get awesome results with seasoned riders as well. Obviously, if you've got limited amount of time to train, then it'll work for you. Now, obviously, if you don't have any time to train, you need to get that sorted out. All right. So you need to have a little bit of time to train. All right. So you got the sign up link there. Let me know. All right. And yes, Melanie, you can opt out at any time you want for the trial. There's no risk. There's no locked in contracts. It's, you know, there's nothing about this. It's like 30 days free. All right. All right. So now, if you don't take my word for it, fantastic. Thanks, Alistair. Alistair, thanks so much. I look forward to working with you. All right. So I'm just going to, I don't know whether you can see this. Can you see this? Looks like you can. I'm just going to go here. Now, you know, you don't have to take my word for it. Here in our results screen here, we have, and you can read this at your own leisure if you don't believe me. Look, I used to get people email me, and I still do regularly, saying how awesome this training is. And I kind of didn't know what to do with it. So I started putting it on this page, and I kind of gave up after a while because I got so many people commenting on how amazing this training is. But if you want to get, if you want to have a look at the results that people have been getting, then you can just scroll through there and basically, you know, look at what sort of results people have been getting with their training. As you can see, there are screeds and screeds and screeds of feedback on how awesome this training has been for our clients. All right. So I haven't even got halfway down this page. All right. So this page just goes on forever. Okay. So those are the sort of results that we're getting. So if you don't believe me, these are people, actual real life people. Some of this stuff I couldn't even write myself. It's like, it's amazing. Anyway. All right. So what happens next? Okay. You sign up, you immediately send you'll get within about 5 minutes, several welcome emails to help you quickly get started. Select your hill climbing training program or a stack load of the other training programs that we've got out there. If you need any help, just contact me via email. I'm just an email away. All right, you start your training. If you want to, you can start attending our live regular Zoom calls that we watch, or you can watch the replays, and you just become awesome on the bike. Yep, fantastic. Christopher, yeah, absolutely. Send me some recent ride data, and I'll help you out. All right. Melanie's asked, how many days, hours is a minimum you recommend? Well, it's really up to you, Melanie, on your available time. So we'll make sure that we fit something around your available time. All right. And I'll make some recommendations on how we can fit your available time into our training programs. Peter signed up. Fantastic. All right. Excellent. Okay. So sign up link. You've got that. Any other questions before we finish up? We're just gone over the hour, which is fantastic. I was trying to keep this in within an hour, and yep, signed up. Fantastic, Brian. Thanks very much. All right, so if we don't get any more questions, I'm going to wrap this up. But I hope you found that interesting. Like I say, really, yep, excellent, Christopher. So there's a sign up link. All right, so now here's the thing. You know, just before I finish up, you don't actually need to really understand any of the stuff that I've talked about tonight. All right. All you need to do is just take the leap of faith and sign up, and then just follow along with the program. You know, just take action. Like, you know, having knowledge is great, but it's actually doing the stuff that is where you're going to get results. And if you just do the right stuff, you're going to get really good results really quickly. So, you know, I did cover off a lot of information tonight, and I hope you understood some of it, whatever. But really, just take the leap of faith, sign up, and look at it. You know, you can try it out yourself, and you know, I'm sure you'll get really good results for it. You just need to follow along with the program. All right. Okay, fantastic. All right. So I hope that's been great. All right. Well, that's interesting, Tony. Let me know if you've got any issues. But thanks very much for your time tonight. Really appreciate you coming here. Thanks for watching this video. I can't wait to dive into this training stuff for you and get the results that you want. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Fantastic. Cool. We'll catch you soon.